It's July 12th, 100 BCE, and you come screaming into the world as Gaius Julius Caesar. Well, congratulations. Your family name is old and respectable, but that is about all you have got going for you. No wealth, no power, no influence. Your ancestors were once big shots in Rome, but now, your father is just some mid-level official scraping by, and your mother, Aurelia, is the real brains of the family. So if you were hoping to be born into a life of luxury, think again. Your family is broke. They still act important, though, which means you will have to keep up the charade while secretly knowing you are just a well-dressed poor kid. Childhood in Rome is not exactly a carefree experience. Education? Mandatory. You are drilled in history, rhetoric, and sword fighting because in this city you either learn to talk your way out of trouble or stab your way through it. Then, when you are a teenager, things go from bad to worse. Your father drops dead suddenly. Just fantastic. You were barely managing with him around. Now, you are just the son of a widow trying to maneuver a political world that does not care about sob stories. But hey, it is not all bad. Your mom is very sharp, and she makes sure you stay on track. She arranges for you to marry a politically connected girl, Cornelia, because in Rome, marriage is less about love and more about making sure you do not end up in a ditch somewhere. A few years later, you get your first taste of how much it sucks to be you. A man named Sulla comes to power. He is a ruthless dictator who makes today's Kim Jong-un look like a friendly uncle. Sulla does not like your family. Worse, he really does not like your wife's family. And in Rome, when the guy in charge does not like you, that is a problem. Sulla orders you to divorce Cornelia. You refuse because, well, you are stubborn, and also, maybe you actually like your wife. Who knows? Either way, refusing Sulla is basically asking for a death sentence. So you do what any reasonable person would do. You run. You bounce out of Rome and go into hiding. You spend your days evading Sulla's men, bribing the right people, and living like a fugitive. Luckily for you, Sulla eventually dies, which means you can finally go home. Just when you think things are looking up, you get kidnapped by pirates. Yes, pirates. You, Julius Caesar, are captured by a bunch of low-life sea criminals who demand a ransom for your release. Now, most people in your situation would be terrified, not you. Instead, you treat the whole thing like an inconvenience. You even joke that they are not asking for enough money. You tell them you will be free soon, and then come back to crucify them all. They laugh. Bad move. As soon as your ransom is paid and you are released, you raise a private army, track them down, and, just as promised, crucify every last one of them. By the time you return to Rome, you have some military experience, a growing reputation, and a newfound understanding of how to deal with enemies. You climb the political ladder, starting small with priesthoods and minor offices, all while making friends and collecting favors. You charm the people, make some powerful allies, and slowly build your influence. Your first big step? Becoming a lawyer. That is right. Before you were a military genius, you were a guy yelling in court. And because you have a talent for words, you quickly gain a reputation for taking down corrupt officials. The people love you. The senators? Not so much. To really make a name for yourself, you need military glory. So you get yourself a little governorship in Spain and start winning battles. Nothing major, just enough to make the Senate notice. Then, in a genius political move, you team up with two of the most powerful men in Rome, Pompey, a brilliant general, and Crassus, the richest man in the Republic. You three form what historians will call the First Triumvirate. What it really is? A power-hungry group project where everyone secretly wants to be the leader. With their help, you become consul, the highest position in Rome. But 1 year in power is not enough for you. You want more. You need an army. So, you get yourself appointed governor of Gaul, which, in Roman terms, is basically saying, I would like to conquer a continent, please. And oh, do you conquer. Over the next decade, you take on the Gallic tribes, wipe out millions, and prove you are one of the greatest military commanders in history. You even invade Britain just to show you can. But back in Rome, your enemies are getting nervous. You are too powerful, too popular, and nothing terrifies Roman senators more than a general with an army who actually likes him. That is when the real trouble begins. Crassus dies in a disastrous campaign in the east, and Pompey, your old ally, decides he does not need you anymore. The Senate orders you to give up your army and return to Rome as a private citizen, which actually means, come home so we can put you on trial and ruin your life. You have two choices: obey and lose everything, or cross the Rubicon River with your army and start a civil war. So, naturally, you pick war. You march on Rome, and Pompey runs for the hills. Over the next few years, you chase him across the Mediterranean, winning battle after battle until he is finally assassinated in Egypt. Congratulations. You are now the most powerful man in Rome. And to make things even better, you meet Cleopatra, the Egyptian queen who is smarter than half the Senate combined. You two hit it off, and next thing you know, you have got a son. But family life takes a back seat because Rome is still a mess. To fix things, you take total control. The Senate makes you dictator, at first temporarily, then for life. But here is the problem. Dictator for life sounds a lot like king. And Romans do not do kings. Your old enemies. They see a tyrant. And the second you start wearing fancy robes and letting statues of yourself pop up around town, the knives come out. You remember Brutus? Your friend. Your ally. The guy you trust. Well, bad news. He and about 60 other senators decide Rome is better off without you. On March 15th, 44 BCE, you walk into a Senate meeting, probably expecting the usual backstabbing in a political sense. Instead, you get the real thing. They stab you. A lot. 23 times to be exact. Your so-called friends surround you, knives flashing, and as life drains from your body, you see Brutus among them. Your final words? Even you, Brutus. That is how it ends. The man who conquered Rome, betrayed by the people he thought he could trust. You won wars, crushed enemies inside and outside of the Roman Empire. You basically reshaped history. And for all that effort, you got stabbed to death by your closest ones. What a miserable end.